You are live. All right, so we're back. This is Senate Health and Welfare. We're continuing our meeting. We also had a meeting with health. Oh no, human services from the House on recovery centers. And so now we're coming back to two bills, S206, and then we're also going to have a report on the work that's going on with H237 and hope to get to closure on both of those bills as soon as we can. So we have Leslie Johnson, who is the Associate Academic Dean of CCV on Zoom. Are you there, Dr. Johnson?
I am here, yes.
Terrific. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Dr. Leslie Johnson, for the record. I am Associate Academic Dean of Behavioral Science and Education at the Community College of Vermont. Part of my role at CCV is to oversee our early childhood education curriculum and academic programs. I also oversee the faculty who teach early childhood education courses at CCV, and I provide supervision for the Northern Lights at CCV. So thank you for the opportunity to be here today and to provide some testimony as relevant to S206. As we've been following along with testimony, we have seen that there's been several questions about the academic experiences available to early childhood educators in the state. And given CCV's role in supporting the field and as the only institution of higher education in the state granting associate degrees in early childhood education, we thought it might be useful for us to share a bit about what we offer at CCV to support early childhood educators. So I understand your time is limited today, and I did provide written comment that was submitted to the committee yesterday. And rather than go into all the details in that comment, I thought I might highlight for you a couple of the areas that seemed most salient to some of the conversations that have been ongoing. I'm certainly happy to speak to other areas as you might have questions as well, but I thought I might highlight our academic programs at CCV for early childhood educators with an emphasis on the general education curriculum. And then I also will talk a bit about prior learning assessment as an existing option for early childhood educators to document their professional learning experience for credit in their academic programs. So let me first talk about CCV's academic programs in early childhood education. So we have a really rich history of supporting Vermont's early childhood educators at CCV. In fact, some of the first courses that we offered at CCV back in the early 1970s were courses on child development. So CCV is deeply committed to supporting early childhood educators. And today at CCV, our early childhood curriculum is really thriving. We offer 3 certificate programs in early childhood education focused areas at the college. Those certificate programs are 24 credit certificates, and they are the Child Care Certificate, the Early Childhood Education Administrator Certificate, and the After School and Youth Work Certificate. Those 3 certificate programs stack seamlessly into our Early Childhood Ed Associate degree, which is our 60 credit associate degree program focused on early childhood education. So what that means is students could pursue that certificate program and move to the associate degree without any loss of momentum or credit and keep continuing on their academic journey. Enrollment in our early childhood education associate degree is consistently amongst the highest enrolled programs at the college. It's usually the top 3 highest enrolled program at CCV each semester. If we look to the 2024-2025 academic year, so last academic year, we had 614 students enrolled in our early childhood ed associate degree program, and we had an additional 100 students enrolled in the certificate programs. So that's over 700 students who were served by our early childhood ed curriculum at CCV last academic year. All of our certificate and degree programs at CCV include a combination of foundational academic skills and specialized early childhood education courses. Our curriculum is aligned with the National Association for the Education of Young Children's Professional Standards and Competencies, and students get a really robust education in both those certificates and the degree program. For our degree-seeking students, in addition to their specialized early childhood ed program requirements, they also complete CCV's 33 credit general education curriculum. And that curriculum is focused on supporting students' development in the areas of communication, critical thinking, equity and inclusion, and technology through exposure to a broad-based liberal arts education. So students take coursework in the general education that supports critical skills like written expression, quantitative reasoning, digital and computing literacy, the arts, and the natural sciences. Excuse me. So one of the beautiful things about the general education is that it is built to provide students with choice and flexibility. So what that means is that students get to choose courses to meet their various general education requirements that are tailored to their career goals and their professional needs. So for example, early childhood education students have to take a natural science course in the general education, but they could choose to take a course focused on nutrition or maybe freshwater ecology. Those courses can support their curriculum development work and their work supporting the development of children in their classrooms. So we did a survey of recent CCV early childhood ed graduates in 2023. And at that time, 100% of the students who responded said that that general education curriculum, they were well prepared or prepared in all areas of that general education curriculum. So we see that as an important strength of our early childhood education curriculum, the general education. Once students finish their associate degree at CCV, if they choose to continue their education, we have a number of articulation agreements and transfer pathways so that students can seamlessly move on to a bachelor's degree program. Our many partners, including Vermont State University and the University of Vermont. I wanted to also talk about prior learning assessment. So all of our academic pathways at CCV have prior learning assessment options. So CCV supports students to gain credit for prior learning and professional experience through the Vermont State College's Office of Prior Learning Assessment. In the Office of Prior Learning Assessment, we help non-traditional and traditional learners describe and document their learning for college credit. Since 2017, early childhood educators have accounted for approximately 50% of the students who we serve in this program. So this is a very popular option for our early childhood educators. There are multiple pathways through the prior learning assessment process. The most popular choice for early childhood educators is our course challenge option, where they can focus on a specific course that they would like to demonstrate competency in. We see a success rate of more than 97% for our early childhood educators who go through the course challenge or competency-based pathway option. We also have portfolio options that allow students to pursue credit for a larger number of courses. They are assisted by a faculty member to document their learning, and then they have their portfolio evaluated for credit. Since 2020, nearly 150 early childhood educators have received 2,811 college credit from our portfolio options. These awards have resulted in an average of $5,000 in tuition savings and 250 hours of time saved per student who went through that portfolio review option. So I can't emphasize enough how prior learning assessment is a current existing option that exists for early childhood educators so that they can save time and money to reach their academic and professional goals. So in summary, I just want to emphasize that CCV really prides ourselves on meeting students where they are at in their lives. This is particularly relevant to our early childhood educators because many of them are working in the field as they pursue coursework at CCV. We offer flexible course modalities and formats. Our degrees and certificates can be completed 100% online if students choose to do so. We offer wraparound support services, including academic advising and student support services. We have affordable tuition, and we have deep partnerships that provide scholarship and grant opportunities for students to attend at low or no cost to CCV. And once students complete their education, CCV continues to support early childhood educators through career advising and professional development support through our program, Northern Lights at CCV. So we are very committed to supporting Vermont's early childhood education workforce here at CCV and to helping them meet their professional goals currently or in any future state that the system might take. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very thorough and helpful. So we really appreciate that. The sort of the principal question that we've been asking and that you've answered is how folks who have experience in early childhood work can benefit from their experience and gain a pathway to the next level, so to speak, or the ability to supervise in their workplace. So
Sure.
yeah, so that's good. How many students have taken advantage of the prior learning assessment?
So I can speak to how many students who are early childhood educators. I have those data in front of me who have taken.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah.
Yep. So since 2017, we've had over 300 early childhood educators who have sought some form of prior learning assessment. So that includes options to provide credit through testing, which is one option. That includes a course challenge and our portfolio option. So over 300 students.
That's a lot.
It
Yeah.
is a lot. Yes. Yep.
So then, of those 300, do you have a sense of kind of the range of experience that these folks have had?
Yeah, so I spoke with Melissa DeBloy, who's the director of prior learning assessment, and Melissa's general observation is that the students who are early childhood educators who come through the program that are most successful are people who've had at least 2 years of experience in the field. But there's a wide range of people that she sees, from people who are early in their career, maybe have gone right into the field from high school and then want to get on their college pathway, to people who are career changers late in their career. So there's a very wide variability of people who we see go through this program, and it's really designed to support people at all different stages of their careers.
Okay, and do you find that what's the biggest barrier to folks actually stepping into the program? Do you have a sense of that?
Yeah, so I mean, generally what we see at CCV is oftentimes the biggest barrier for people starting is finding a way to access higher education that meets them in their daily lives. So people have a lot of assumptions about things that prevent them from being successful. Sometimes it's cost, sometimes it's belief that higher education is not for them. Sometimes their opportunities in their life prevent them from pursuing higher ed at that moment. So that's why we really strive to provide different pathways that are flexible to meet people at all different points in their life. In terms of prior learning assessment, Melissa would probably have a better sense of this, but my understanding is that oftentimes she sees folks who are early childhood educators come into the program who are folks who don't see themselves as pursuing higher education, and they're really looking for that first win, that first place that shows them that they can be successful. And prior learning assessment can be a really successful stepping stone for them, really helpful to get that confidence, get that momentum, understand that they can be college students, and then continue that win forward with their momentum.
So, and then I think probably a last, or it's probably never a last question, but where do they have to come into, say, the Winooski facility or another CCV facility to get started? Do you have any folks who go out to help people at the child care center? How does that work?
So in terms of getting started at CCV as a student, there are lots of options for people to connect with the college, either in person at one of our 12 academic centers or virtually through online options. So you could apply to be a student at CCV and schedule a virtual advising appointment and complete your entire education at CCV, including the prior learning assessment process, without ever stepping foot in an academic center. We do have the Northern Lights at CCV team. Their role, particularly the resource advisors who work on that team, their role is to support people in the field, any person who works in a regulated early childhood and after school setting, in getting direction on their career goals. So the resource advisors do sometimes go out and visit program staff on site at their programs. So they could be a touch point for someone, and then they would refer them to an academic advisor at CCV to start their academic journey.
Sounds very student friendly.
That's the hope. Yes, that's the hope.
Thank you. And then I noticed that the Northern Lights, I told you it wasn't the last question, but the Northern Lights is funded by CDD. Can you talk a little bit about how that funding happens? Can you do that, or is that it's a little far out for what we're doing, but it would be helpful to us to know this.
So are you interested in the funding streams for that program?
Right. How is it funded? Is this part of our base budget and state government, or is this a one-time funding? Is it a grant? How does this work?
Sure. Yes. So Northern Lights at CCV is a program funded. It's a grant. We receive a grant from the Child Development Division, which is a combination of several funding sources. So the Child Development Block Grant is one of the funding sources that comes down. We have Part C funding that is part of that program, and then there's other funding sources to support various programs as part of the Northern Lights work. So we support several different areas through that program, and it is braided funding, I believe, is the funding stream, but CDD would be able to answer more specific questions about the funding sources.
Yeah, good. Thank you. We'll do that. They'll be coming in, I think, next week. They weren't available, or I forgot when, but they'll be in soon. I see
Great.
people that they were going to be in far away, but see. Questions committee, other questions? What have we missed? No, thank you. This is very helpful, and it does answer some of the questions that we've had about people who have experience but don't have credentials.
Absolutely. I'm
Yeah.
happy to be here, and thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna move on to the Secretary of State. They become part of our committee. Jen,
I don't want to sit behind you by myself.
we're gonna have to swear you in as honorary member.
I would love that. What a great.
That would be an honor for sure.
Oh, it's only happened once.
I'm gonna
With Jane
put this
Pickle.
away, thank you.
We are nowhere near that. So
I want to give the good side of the boss. Yeah.
always interesting.
Yeah.
Good morning. For the record, I'm Lauren Hibbert, Deputy Secretary of State.
And I'm Jen Colin, Director of the Office of Professional Regulation. Thanks for having me.
Good. So we've had discussion about the bill, and maybe you could bring us up to speed about where you are and where we are with recommendations.
Yes, so we did email send revision language to Ledge Council last night. We've been working with CDD and with CCV, so a little bit of alphabet soup, but we've been working with partners who are interested in this legislation to just check in with them to make sure operationally the language in the bill works for them. And we've also been doing quite a bit of work in terms of a new pathway that would be available during the transitional period. As you probably recall, there's an 8-year window where OPR is going to be offering transitional licenses for ECE2 and ECE3. So if someone is in the profession right now as a lead teacher, but they don't meet the qualifications that are required under S206, they can get a transitional license and have that license for up to 8 years as they work towards gaining the qualifications. So we call this kind of the 8-year transitional period. Well, we've come up with another pathway because we've heard the testimony in committee from folks who want a pathway that recognizes their experience. And just heard from Leslie Johnson at CCV. CCV has a lot of expertise in offering college credit based upon an individual's learning experience and professional work. And so this new pathway that we've created is less than an associate's degree. It's 21 core credits that relate to early childhood education. So it is that foundational knowledge that's specific to the profession. And we specify in that new language that those credits can be gained through an assessment of prior learning by an appropriately accredited higher learning institution. So we've been working on that pathway. And
if I could just add, that would be available only during that 8-year period, and then it would be phased out. So after the 8 years, you would need to meet the associate's degree. But we wanted to make sure that we didn't box anybody out who's currently practicing, and we provided a softer on-ramp. But once you have the ECE2 is really what we're talking about here. Once you have that ECE2 through that new alternative pathway, you would be an ECE2 for the duration of time. You wouldn't need to seek an associate's degree. You would be in that path for the remainder.
And then the other thing we've included is a report back, and we recognize that because this is such a significant and exciting change, that, you know, there are going to be things that this body will want to hear back on periodically as we launch this program for the first few years. So we've also provided Ledge Council with some report back language that I'm sure y'all will have some changes to, but just to make sure that that requirement is in there as well.
Okay, so, and did you send the language to Katie last night?
Yes.
I saw it.
And I wish
There was a whole lot of crossfire going with languages all over the place.
Yeah. And next time I will bring my laptop in so that I can plug in and show it to y'all on the computer. But
The other piece is we looked at the positions that we need to set up the profession, and we whittled it down so that it candidly doesn't seem so overwhelming in terms of financial ask, and it's more.
That would be helpful to hear.
Yes, and so it's more clear what we actually are asking for. So it's the creation of 2 positions, the executive officer and the staff attorney. And we've made the money more accurate to today's times. It's $280,000 in fiscal year 27. And we took out all of the intent language around future staffing. We will come back if we need that, funding stream here, or if we just need the positions created, and we'll be able to cover it without general fund allocation. So, which would be ideal, right? So, we know that based on the way OPR is structured, we should be able to sustain this profession on its own with licensing fees. We think based on the number of people in the field, we will be able to do that. So we took out that future language. Hopefully that helps ease its path in its future committees.
Well, let me ask you the other question. Obviously, with fees in the bill and then the appropriations pieces, its destiny is finance with Senator Cummings, and Senator Gillick will be there. And then appropriations, where we need to look at the balance between the revenue that comes in and the expenditures that go out. So have you looked at the fees?
Yes.
Also looking at
Yes, we have, and we have been in touch with Joint Fiscal, and we're working on getting them data so they're able to provide a fiscal note both to this committee and future.
Yeah, we'll need that. We're getting close to that. Okay. So the language, Katie may not be able to come in right now, which is a problem, but not her fault. It's the fact that there's a House committee that meets her, and they meet all day, and we're a Senate committee that meets for a short time in the morning. So we're trying to hold on to her. That doesn't always work that way.
You know, I just tried to see her stress and I just said, remember, you're only one person.
I know.
Would it be helpful if we forwarded the language to Callista? I don't know if that helps. I forwarded to you.
No, I prefer she didn't have to put it up.
Oh, okay.
So, right, we'll hold off until we've got, either you or Katie here with a laptop or a
Great.
little mini thing.
I don't want to muddy the waters, but I probably will. We've gotten so many great emails from people out in the field, and so I really want to honor them. And if they're watching, thank you very much. It's been very educating and illuminating. But one of the emails that I got was from a current practicing early childhood educator. And she was saying how she's got these renewals that she has to do, and she was saying her AOE teaching license is every 3 years. Her childcare registration is every 3 years, and her STARS application is every 3 years. And she was just making the point, it would be nice to have the renewal every 3 years, just to sort of be in line with all of those other things.
First and foremost, she won't need a license through OPR because she has an AOE credential. So she's exempted just by virtue of having an AOE
I
license.
was thinking more like the ecosystem.
Yeah. And we at OPR, we put our licenses all on a 2-year cycle intentionally. First of all, it makes it much easier operationally. If we have people on different cycles, it just is very challenging and for our staff. And we have to space with all of our different professions, we have to space them out over 2 years so that we don't have a particularly overwhelming time. I'll tell you, when our nursing renewal is happening, it's basically all hands on deck because that's 26,000 people.
I just wanted to share.
Yeah, no, I think it's very valid. The other reason that we do 2 years is with an individual, things can change in their lives, particularly around tax compliance, child support compliance, criminal records, and substance use. So we like to check in on those 4 things because we can't issue a license if there's issues that we haven't been around.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, good question, and something to think about, but we got it. Understand. Any other questions? At this point, or comments, you were going to say something?
Well, I'll just say that there have been times where we've talked about moving to a 3-year cycle for all of our professions as a solution to more professions coming on and limited staff. And that could happen in the future. You could hear our office advocate for that. But we have felt really firm on every 2 years, and that is nationally sort of the standard for individual licensure.
Good to know.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, we have you. So I will venture into rough waters because we have just a couple minutes here. But now I know that you can sit back there. We're going to do a little bit of a conversation. And it's regarding 237 and the hallway conversation. 237? It's going back to the psychologist.
How about that?
And before I go back to the psychologist today, if you folks were here on the child care bill and you have comments to make on the language when we eventually see it on the transitional period for educational certification and qualifications, that will be important to us. So now we're back to 237 and there was a huddle. And I'm wondering what, if anything, has come out of that huddle. I'm not sure. I didn't see a whole lot of enthusiasm. So who would like to begin the conversation?
Madam Chair, if it's okay, I'll represent the huddle.
Oh, good. Sounds good. You're
For the
quarterback.
record, Lauren Hibbert, Deputy Secretary of State. I think we had a very productive huddle, although there are still some differences. I think I can speak for everybody that there's interest in this bill moving forward, well, relative interest, not a lot. And, but, the big thing that we were hearing the committee talk about is if there could be an alternative collaborative provider pathway for someone outside of a psychiatrist. And we, the Medical Society believes firmly that it should be a psychiatrist. OPR would be open to, if the committee wanted to expand who can be a collaborative provider, that it could include an APRN with a psych specialty. And we think that could be written into the statute, not left to rulemaking. And that is the language that we provided to Katie. I want to make sure that this committee understands there was not agreement on that language. That is a decision point for this committee. And then the place where we did have agreement is that we provide a report back to this body and sister body in 2032, which is just crazy that we're talking about 2032, but that will be 3 years after we are able to start issuing the credential, and it would be specific to the number of this specialty and also of the available collaborative providers, and whether the qualifications for collaborative providers needs to be reassessed to improve access while also protecting the public.
So my question is then, if that report back would include the comments about collaborative providers for a period of 3 years, do we need to debate the expansion right now? And I'm thinking that it feels like we're building a resistance that we haven't felt. There's been some cooperative movement, so.
Yeah, I think that's a decision point for the
It's a
committee.
decision.
Yeah, and but if
Good
I
idea.
but OPR would be supportive of not changing the language. But if the committee wanted to, that's our recommendation. And it would improve collaboratives. It would improve the number access to who could be a collaborative provider. And we feel comfortable with that very narrow expansion, but we also feel comfortable with the bill as written. And we don't want to add any opposition to this bill. It's not necessary.
Okay, thank you for that report. And I see that the head's going this way, and I know where we are with that. And so we'll have Katie bring it into us and we'll look at it. That's good. Thank you all. We're gonna take a 6-minute break unless it's Mary Block. Not here yet. I didn't see her. So we'll take a 6-minute break. We'll go off live and then we'll come back and we're going to hear from Mary Block on S-190, the Green Mountain Care Board, reference-based pricing and outsourcing of hospitals.